What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's Alina here. Today we're going to be reacting to I am really tired of all men in movies being failures, actually. Let's get into it.
Okay, here goes. Hello everyone, Jester Bell aka Female Frodo Baggins is here. I'm also a pumpkin. So, there was a movie that I was kind of looking forward to in the back half of the year. Tron Ares. Why? Well, despite starring Jared the Pedo Leto, that's a story for another time. It's really one of the few big movies that is releasing for the back half of the year because Hollywood hasn't programmed anything else. But with Tron Ares in particular, the trailers, I thought, looked really great. And it's really, really rare that I feel that way about a trailer, especially for a mainstream blockbuster these days. So, yeah, I was kind of looking forward to Tron Ares despite everything, but I knew this is Disney, and sometimes you have to just expect to be disappointed, and I am now.
Well, yeah, because there's a bunch of DI hiring probably going on in Disney and all that in Hollywood, so at this point, a lot of movies are kind of getting disappointing.
Now that I've heard some of the plot of the movie, and I should have known because of the company behind.
Also, I think there might be spoilers, so feel free to click out this video if you don't want spoilers for the Tron movie plot. I think so. Just be safe. Just click off the video if you don't want to see spoilers.
In this, but apparently the plot of Tron Ares is going to be, or at least part of the plot, is that at the end of Tron Legacy, the main protagonist, the main male protagonist, finally accepted his father's legacy and took over his company going forward, and that he was going to make the company really successful. But apparently, as Tron Ares begins, this main male protagonist failed. According to Gizmodo, with official word of the plot of Tron Ares, Sam Flynn at the end of
And fans will remember, it is the company Kevin Flynn took over at the end of the first Tron, and it is the company his son Sam was supposed to take over at the end of Tron Legacy. However, Ares will reveal that the 14 years between between films, Encom fell in hard times. In fact, it would have folded if not for the work of the now CEO Eve Kim, Greta Lee. Eve helped reinvent one of the Encom's many classic titles, Space Paranoids, as the online massive multiplayer game in the vein of Fortnite, and it changed everything. Now she wants to take on things to the next level by using the legacy of the company was built on Kevin Flynn's work on the grid and evolving it.
Tron Legacy was
Yeah, we know it's just evolving it. Like, that means like going way off plot and making something how it wasn't intended to be, to maybe have it be for modern audiences, if you know what I mean.
supposed to take over his father's company Encom with a lot of optimism for the future. However, Tron Ares will reveal that in the 14 years between the films, Encom fell on hard times. In fact, it would have folded if not for the work of the now CEO Eve Kim, played by Greta Lee. So, Tron Ares, the plot is going to be that Sam Flynn failed his father's legacy and that a woman took over and saved the company in his place. And this, oh, first of all, my interest in Tron Ares, which I'm still planning to see and review, has gone in the toilet after hearing this. But unfortunately, I should have known, and I'm very disappointed about this, but unfortunately, this is just par for the course with the kind of male protagonists and narratives that Disney, but really all of Hollywood, has been portraying with male characters. Now, I've covered this before, but in doing these videos on the movie industry and all of this, I have uncovered things that maybe I wouldn't have thought were a big deal before. I wouldn't have thought that it was as big of a problem than that people originally made it out to be. But I have uncovered exactly just how many times this narrative that where the men are the failures, either they become failures or they just always have been, and the strong,
I guess you could say like the Mark, not Mark. What am I talking about? The Family Guy and the Simpsons kind of the Homer Simpson and the Peter Griffin as being always the failures, and perhaps and then it's I can't think of any other movies, but that are particularly like that. But there's like the Hollywood does seem to be a lot of failure men in movies and kind of having the women take over the role and stuff, and kind of putting the men down to raise the women up. So it does seem to be happening a bit. So let's continue.
Strong women succeed. Just how many times that has gone on. And I know that I have covered this before, but for those who might be new and who might still be in denial at just how prominent this narrative in Hollywood is, let's go through it. Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph Breaks the Internet, portrays Ralph as an overpossessive best friend that does not want Vanellope to leave him, even though that would mean her own success. He is so selfish in the movie, it completely broke his character. He is so selfish in wanting Vanellope to stay with him and not achieve her own success that he essentially becomes a monster, and his character is totally assassinated in the film over this
Yes, may also spoil plots of other movies too, so beware.
Obsession with Vanellope, the strong woman who's going to go forward and be successful, versus Ralph, who is just the overpossessive best friend. Eventually, he does let her go, and the movie ends with him just being alone as a failure with no friends. You might be wondering exactly what was the point of all of that, ending on such a dour note where he ends up being the lonely failure that he always feared he would be, even as he's let her go. But that's not the only movie they done it in. In The Incredibles, Mr. Incredible is the washed-up failure no one trusts. He always fails, and they know that it's going to be the wonderful Elastigirl to bring back superheroes again. While Elastigirl spends the movie refining herself and refining the joy of being a superhero, Mr. Incredible just winds up beat up and put down throughout the movie. A needy man who just wants to recapture his glory days, and in the end, it doesn't even solve the whole dynamic between him and his wife, where he keeps failing at her job while she succeeds at the job he wants. It just kind of leaves it there, and that's that. Cars 3, Lightning McQueen realizes that his spunk...
Yeah, they're right. She's definitely right about the Incredibles thing, if I remember correctly, because I watched the movie. It was... Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's really like... I mean, it's interesting how Hollywood just keeps trying to push the message, you know, because they want more... I think they want more females to be into their movies, but, like... You know, like the way to get a female to do that, to be be watching movies, isn't to like replace the original male lead with a female, but instead to like make new original content with females in it, in a genre that a lot of females generally like. Like, you know, there's probably not a lot of females watching superhero flicks, right? That's probably a lot of dudes doing that. So you're gonna want to cater to like the audience, what the audience actually watches, instead of going, well, actually, you know, you're going to watch this now, and you're going to like it, so...
energetic trainer, female trainer, is much better at his racing, so the movie ends with a twist of her taking his place and him just accepting retirement and becoming a trainer himself. But it is the female character who overtakes him once again, while he has to accept that he couldn't achieve what he wanted to. Luke Skywalker gave up on everything. Indiana Jones gave up on everything. Obi-Wan gave up on everything.
That Indiana Jones movie was really long. Like, that movie was... just super long. Oh my goodness, that movie was like, I think they could have made a much better movie. I mean, I like that they made another Indiana Jones movie, because like, it's always good to get more content, in my opinion, for the most part, as long as it's good. You know, if it's bad, then like, don't make content until it's good, if you know, when it comes to movies. So
Han Solo, deadbeat dad who turned back to smuggling and then dies. Thor, bumbling idiot, while his girlfriend Jane Foster becomes worthy of the hammer. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, despite all that Scott Lang did to try to earn people's trust and prove himself a hero, he winds up being put down in the beginning of that movie hard by everyone in favor of his daughter, who he was criticizing for becoming a criminal. He didn't want her to be like him, but for some reason, everyone else in his family is encouraging it. Disney movies in particular have a habit of putting down the male character in order to elevate the female character, but let's just focus.
They do. They really do. I mean, I watched a bit of videos on this kind of topic, so like, it is insane how much they do that, actually. Like Velma, like, and stuff, they have the show a little bit on Velma, and then they not to mention, they race swapped her. I think they made her gay too. But like, they literally, it's insane. Like I don't know anyone who likes Velma. I don't know if anyone likes that. So I mean, it's insane what's happening nowadays. It's, you know,
on putting down the male character specifically, because we certainly have a lot of movies out these days that are definitely afraid of portraying masculinity. I noticed that especially in the Gladiator movie. I'll just reiterate that, where none of the male characters could be masculine in an inherently masculine setting. But hey, so what if...
I don't think I've watched that movie, so I wouldn't know about that. But I'll just probably have to take her word on it.
Male characters from old franchises are being torn down. There are some great new ones that are coming out in these franchises. Like, couldn't criticize Disney all day, but they did come out with Strange World, a brand new Disney movie with a male lead who was gay. And Pedro Pascal has been portraying new male leads in Fantastic Four and The Mandalorian and Grogu. Pedro Pascal, who is gay. And he was...
Okay, I don't know if he's gay, actually. I wouldn't... Like, I've heard different things about him. I wouldn't necessarily say for sure he's gay. I wouldn't necessarily say he's gay, but he acts kind of feminine sometimes, I guess, according to some people. I'm not saying he does, but I'm saying all the people seem to think that. And he's basically in, like, everything. Is also, like, the thing about him that people talk about, so...
Also usurped by a female character in his own show. But hey, they were gonna have a new male character, a new male lead in the movie Elio, who was originally supposed to be gay.
Erasure of queer themes. They make it sound bad, but it's just a kid, dude. Like the main character is supposed to be gay. Bro. This is a kid, dude. This is a kid. And then they phrase it as change and erasure of queer themes. It's no wonder why the LGBT community gets such a bad rap. Now, I'm not saying a lot or most of the LGBT community is like this, but I think a lot of them support things that they otherwise wouldn't support if it was in a different thing. Like, if, for example, if there was, like, a really, maybe if it was, like, a religion, a kid or a character, like, getting, talking about with religion. Like, if a Christian, like a character was talking about another character about Christianity, and trying to, and converts, like, the kid or whatever, they'd say that's indoctrination. But because the kid is gay, right here, and stuff or was supposed to be, then that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing that they're erasing it. They're erasing queer themes. It's insane to me how people phrase it. It's the power of phrasing. It's the power of words. It's the power of language, you guys. It's a really powerful thing when you change how things are. When you change how things are said, you change how things are viewed. When you change how things are viewed, you change the people's actions. So, yeah, you gotta be careful with how you frame things sometimes. Especially if you're got a lot of power. If you're a writer and stuff for like journals and everything. So, yeah.
I want to help you master AI content creation this weekend, but first, let me show you what total beginners are.
I'm noticing a pattern here. Now, first in this video, when
I'm just gonna, the quality seems really bad right now. Hold on.
I want to talk about is just how bad this narrative is. How demoralizing it is for everyone. Now, I want to use the comparison here of the movie Aliens to Alien 3. If you've ever seen those movies that actually star female lead Sigourney Weaver. Now, Alien 3 has gotten a lot of hate from fans of the Alien franchise. Why? Is it because the movie itself is really that bad? I personally don't think Alien 3 as an individual movie is that bad. The reason why people hate it, though, is because they chose to make Sigourney Weaver come back. And she originally wasn't supposed to be the protagonist. It was originally supposed to be an all-new character. But this was supposed to be a very dour movie set on a prison planet, and in order to bring her back for this third movie, they had to undo the success and the triumph and the growth that she and her team went through at the end of Aliens. We effectively saw all of the wins and the victories at the end of Aliens erased just so the alien could come back on this new planet and crash land and kill all her crew. Just so she could be a part of the movie. So that's why
I kind of came in for a second.
Alien 3 is panned by so many people, because it was so demoralizing to see Ripley, after becoming a hero and achieving all of this, just lose all that and fail with it at the beginning of the next movie, even if the rest of the movie itself wasn't necessarily bad on its own. So it is an incredibly demoralizing narrative to see all of these men that you were supposed to think had character growth, who you were supposed to identify with, that you were supposed to even look up to in certain cases, just be torn down and said that they will eventually fail. That is the narrative that is being pushed with these movies. Men will eventually fail. That is what's being pushed over and over again. And even if you haven't noticed it until this point, like, it's
like even like, you know, Rey Skywalker, she basically succeeded in everything she did. Basically, she learned the Force within a matter of like what, days or whatever. Like it probably took like Luke a bunch of time, doing basically just to learn how to like levitate stuff. Like it's not like, and for Rey it was like super easy and stuff. So it's just, I mean, and they only did that. Of course, they did it with a female. Like when a female lead. If it was a male lead, they probably wouldn't do that same thing with them. They probably make, you know, it's because they have an agenda. They want to spread the message, I guess you could say.
Still there, maybe subliminally. All of these movies profess the same idea that men will eventually fail you. And on the other hand, we see the elimination of romance with men, and we see the elimination of a lot of male roles. Men can no longer be womanizing, for example. They can no longer be ladies' men. They can no longer be confident in that area. Heroes like Captain America or Aragorn or Samwise Gamgee, my best friend, they are non-existent. So we're seeing all these narratives of men being failures while the heroes and whatnot and even the strong love interests are non-existent. Jennifer Lee had made sure on her tenure at Disney Animation that the female characters would not have male love interests. But I
wonder why that is. I wonder if it's a possible agenda behind this. I wonder if there's an intention behind this. I wonder what it could possibly be, you guys. Leave in the comments if you think you guys know what the agenda is. Please tell me. But I think we all know, or have some idea.
Want to get to the source of all of this, because yes, it's happening, and if you pay any attention to movies and the trends, like this is one of the biggest trends of all. It's happening again with Tron Ares. But instead of spending time after time just yelling about the things that I've seen happen in movies, for this video, let's get into the actual source, because originally I thought that perhaps the source of all of this could be, you know, perhaps an overcompensation from the Me Too movement. This overcompensation of the women are going to be amazing and let's put down the men, let's be self-deprecating. I wondered if it was male executives putting out apologies for what they had done in the past after the Me Too movement. Now, I do believe that there are still plenty of men and men and women at fault for what has happened, because I think that both men and women can be terrible people, and there are both of those kinds in the industry. However, I want to...
That's true. Definitely, it doesn't matter what gender you are. You could definitely be you could definitely do evil in this world. I mean, we all according to Christianity, we all do evil. None of us are perfect. That's why we need Jesus and everything. And the only perfect one was Jesus, you know, according to Christianity. So, and that would be like the Christian view of it. But, you know, I mean, it's the fall of Adam and Eve. That's like it's probably, I mean, that's why sin's kind of here and rampant.
Share some things that I have heard, some off of rumor and some off of fact, from Disney in particular, about what actually is going on behind this. Now, allegedly, what happened after John Lasseter, who was fired from Disney Animation for alleged misconduct, is apparently someone yelled out at Disney, "Can we get a woman to run this place now?" And that woman was Jennifer Lee. Now, Jennifer Lee no longer works at Disney.
This is what happens when you have DEI hires, because people try when you like. There's nothing wrong with having some diversity in places. It's just you don't want people to be there because it would make them diverse, and if they're not, especially if they're not qualified. If they're qualified, then sure. But like, I feel like, you know, don't just hire someone because they would fit, that would tick a box on your agenda. Don't do that. Because this is what you get. Like Hollywood, modern Hollywood and Disney is what you get.
Disney, as of this recording, her run was incredibly short and the worst run that I think Disney Animation has ever had. She was just terribly incompetent at running things. But I want to share something that I heard off of rumor behind the scenes. Now, this rumor comes from Film Threat. Now, you can take this or leave this, but the reason why I found any interest in this is that Film Threat is run by people who have been in the industry for a very long time, and they have their sources. And they did a series of articles as an expose of what was going on at Disney Animation during Jennifer Lee's time. And they were prompted to do this, allegedly, by ex-animators who had worked at the company during her time. And what they allege is that Jennifer Lee ran a very, very toxic work environment.
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys a second to read this. I'll read it too. Actually, no, I'll read it. With Wish, Lee's hand-selected animators, artists, writers, and musicians are now in place. No excuses for failure. When asked about Jennifer Lee, many former Disney artists spoke about Lee's management style, especially regarding how she formed her teams. Many felt that when she took over to replace John Lasseter, her goal was to clean house of Lasseter loyalists. They felt that ultimately you were either with Lee or against Lee in her mind. When interacting with her, you knew right away if she liked you or not. If she liked you, she would listen to you and give you the best scenes to work on. Of course, her favorites mainly consist of female artists and male persons. What? Consisted of female artists and male persons. If you got on her bad side or were male, you were given the crappy assignments, which rarely involved character animation or often consisted of environmental animation or quick scene that slipped in between significant scenes. It didn't matter how many years you had been with the company or how many features you worked on in the past. It ultimately boiled down to whether Jennifer Lee liked you or not. Yeah, this might be existence of an example of sexism here going on here. I wonder if this is sexism. I mean, of course, it's like alleged, so take it with a grain of salt. But, you know, I mean, this is what happens, I guess, when you DI hire and then you basically create standards in the country that one type of people cannot make, like the victims cannot be perpetrators to the perpetrators because the victims have been victimized, and therefore you can only be victims and perpetrators, and that's it. Like it's not that black and white. But that's the narrative that's been kind of pushed in this country a bit. So, and that could be partially why. I don't know. Take my opinion with a grain of salt here, but anyway, let's continue.
Where she would oust people if she just didn't like them, or for disagreeing with her, or if she thought they might be a threat to her for what she wanted to do, and that it was a very, very toxic environment for the old male Disney animators who worked there, which is why a lot of them quit.
It started with demotions for the old white guys. In an attempt to demoralize them, the targets were given a mundane and inconsequential scenes to work on. Regardless of their vast experience, scraps for the dogs. Second, if they questioned or complained about their assignment, they were given the impossible scenes to work on in an impossible amount of time. When the work was turned in, the new emboldened recruits harshly criticized their work to the point of humiliation. The goal was to make life so miserable that they'd quit or be forced to fall in line with the new normal. If that didn't work, something worse was waiting in the wings. I wonder what that would be. Interesting. Anyway.
Which is why the animation quality sunk, because they got rid of a lot of the old animators, which I gotta say, as some real life evidence for this being true, now that Jennifer Lee is gone, we're seeing them ask old animators to come back to teach the new
Interesting. Okay.
generations. Why would they have to do that unless they got rid of the old animators in the first place? But yeah,
I guess some proof for that point, I guess, Interesting. Okay. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think of this. And I'm going to continue on the video, but I'll end it soon, so.
yes, a very toxic environment under Jennifer Lee was alleged. So I guess that just because you hire a woman in place does not mean that the toxic environment stops. But I just have
It's almost like women can do bad things too. It's almost like women aren't perfect either and can fail too, just like men. Even though Disney might not want people to think that.
wonder about this. Once again, if this is true, and I'm going to back this up with some more concrete evidence in a second. But I was planning on perhaps doing a big video about exactly what went on behind the scenes at Disney and why they have become what they have become. And I was going back and reading articles about, the Me Too movement and John Lasseter and all of that. And, the women who felt that it was very much a boys' club in Hollywood and, upset about the mistreatment or the way that they felt excluded. And the more I read these articles and what the people would say, the more I started to wonder, how much of this is just revenge? These women were either mistreated or felt that they were excluded and mistreated in Hollywood by these men back when Hollywood, and anybody who has paid attention to Hollywood knows this, it has very much been a boys' club up to this point. Like, how much of this is revenge? Like, I was treated badly, so I'm going to treat others badly. Like in the case of, let's say, allegedly...
Often this happens with victims. Victims will, if something happens bad to them, they'll want to do revenge. This is why, possibly why the Bible also talks about, like, revenge is the Lord's and not ours, right? So if revenge is not for us to do, it is for the Lord. If the Lord will have justice on people, we are not to be the ones who give them judgment in the sense to give them a punishment, but it is God who does that. So that's not our place. So yeah.
Jennifer Lee. Let's say that she worked at Disney Animation, very difficult, being a woman, probably one of the few women working there. What if some of this and some of the result of, we know factually, excluding like traditional male love interests and all of that? What if the agenda behind here is, let's say, revenge on the people who treated her badly? It's definitely something to think about, because even from the people I hear who are supportive of the way that maybe movies in the modern day put down male characters and raise up female characters and portray men as himbos and weak and emasculated and silly, one of the big defenses I've heard from it was, well, women were sometimes treated badly in movies in the past, so isn't this a taste of your own medicine? But once again, I want to get into an example here that is more concrete.
Let's end here, and I'm gonna continue this on part 2. This is gonna be part 1 of part 2, I believe. So anyway, if you guys like the video, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, just comment. Make sure to comment down below what you think, because I would love to hear your opinions. I do reply to comments and such. So generally, and I will if I maybe agree with you or like your I might like your comment as well, and maybe give it a heart as well. So yeah, anyway, yeah, it was fun making this. It was interesting making this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Anyway, have a good night out. Bye.